I'm Stephanie Zumwalt. Welcome to the Higher Self Connection podcast. I believe one of the most valuable tools we can learn is to be in alignment with our higher self. From that viewpoint, we see how we were meant to live, in a state of well-being. It's also where all of the answers to our quote-unquote problems reside. With the Higher Self Connection, you can live a life of joy and ease. There is no pain, suffering, or fear. Your journey to the Higher Self Connection begins now. All right, thanks for joining us today. I am so lucky to be talking to my good friend. I think you're a good friend now, Nina Rafaela Morrocco from Peebles, Scotland. Yeah. And Nina is a BQH practitioner as well. And I just thought it would be so much fun for us to get together and do a podcast together and learn about what her life is like, her sessions and whatnot. I'm going to be doing a few of these recordings with her over the next few weeks, hopefully. So I'm very excited. Nina, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So I wanted to start by finding out, just tell people a little bit about, and she has a little one in the background that's not wanting to go to bed yet.
I have a little human being beside me. We've started now, and therefore the demands are having to start.
Which is fitting because that's kind of how your journey started on all of this, was when you were pregnant with her. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly how this all came about. She changed everything in so many ways that I can't even describe.
As they typically do, but I think that your story was like one that a lot of people can relate to. You went through some challenges.
Yeah, I knew life was going to change when I had a little girl. I didn't know it was going to change like that or that quickly. That was like bang, you are bedridden. I went from completely normal life, self-employed, I was a makeup artist, to bedridden within, I think, a week of finding out I was pregnant.
Oh my gosh, fast.
Yeah, so and I went downhill really, really quickly. I had a condition called hyperemesis gravidarum, where you're sick, but it's not morning sickness. It's not that level. It's a whole other level where it is completely debilitating and you just can't do anything.
Yeah, because a lot of women get morning sickness. That's normal, but
this is a totally different ballgame. I couldn't eat anything I would normally eat. I was sick up to, I would say, 20 to 30 times a day.
Oh my gosh.
Like constant. I couldn't keep down water. I was in hospital quite a few times on a drip.
Wow.
And because it's such a little known condition, the medical staff didn't know enough about it to know what was actually going on with me.
Oh my God.
And they didn't actually diagnose me until I was halfway.
Oh, wow.
I was 20 weeks. And I actually brought in, this is fairly graphic, I brought in a bag of my own sick to show them that I wasn't just being sick, I was throwing up chunks of my own esophagus.
Oh my God.
That's how extreme it was. It was extreme. And when I brought that into their faces, they panicked. They didn't know what to do because they were like, okay, she is really not in a good way. So once we tried to get that under control with a myriad of different antiemetic drugs, which I was not happy about taking when I was pregnant. But you're desperate. You're absolutely desperate. You will do anything to be able to function.
Yeah, so, you can't function at that point. Yeah.
No, I mean, it was so I couldn't even moving my head to the side would cause me to be sick. Words would cause me to, noises would cause, like, I couldn't read a book. I couldn't.
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't do anything. I literally just had to lie there because everything made me sick.
Oh.
It was awful for 7.5 months.
Oh my god.
And the whole time I'm like trying to grow a baby. You
want to focus on the joy that's coming, and
yeah,
you just
there was none of that. So by the time we got the sickness under control, which was around, well, I moved house in the middle of all that, which,
oh my gosh,
slightly stressful. And then once we kind of got the sickness under control, I was just a bag of nerves. Like I couldn't function. I was just a pill popping, water glugging. Like I was just like, it was horrible.
Oh my gosh, I bet.
My mental health was so down the toilet because I had not been nourished in any way, shape or form for so long. I had just deteriorated completely for months. My mental health was just down the pan, and I'd asked for some help, but nobody got to me. This is like social work. Nobody got to me until I was around 30 weeks.
Wow.
And she walked in the house and took one look at me and went, I have to take you to the hospital right now.
Oh my gosh.
I cannot leave you in this state. She's like, I am actually like terrified for you.
Yeah.
So she had to take me to go and see, we call it the crisis team, to get my mental health checked, to see the psychiatric team, to see, all of that stuff. Because she was seriously freaked out, and actually seeing her freaked out was the first time it made me go, oh wait a minute. Okay,
it's a lot worse than I thought it was.
Yeah. So yeah, it took a team of people to get me to the end of that pregnancy. But there was this thing inside of me, they were trying to tell me that, they were going to put me on antidepressants as soon as she was born, therefore I wasn't going to be able to breastfeed and things like that. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, no.
If we're trying to make me not depressed, don't make me not be able to feed my baby.
Right. That's so important, that bond. Oh my gosh.
I knew enough about breastfeeding and about that bond to know that was going to be one of the most important things in making sure that not only I was okay, but our connection was okay.
Right.
So I realized at that point that, I could not rely on this team of people to make me okay. Yeah. I actually had to be okay. And I didn't just have to be okay for me. I had to be okay for Marnie.
Wow.
So that was what got me through to the end of it. And I really had to sort of dig deep. And in fact, the one thing that really helped me, which is funny now I think about it, is hypnobirthing.
Oh, wow.
The one thing, and I took up hypnobirthing really late on in my pregnancy. I think I had like 6 weeks to go or something like that when I actually bought the hypnobirthing course.
Now, what is hypnobirthing?
Oh, hypnobirthing is basically it's a series of exercises to help you control your breath, which helps you control it's like birth minus the fear. It helps you train yourself to not be afraid of birth.
Oh wow.
And they use these different hypnosis recordings and things like that to allow you to get into a relaxed enough state to be able to handle the contractions and
not need to use medication and things like that.
Yeah. So it's a much more natural method, and it because their ethos is, the more tense you are, the more your body's going to tense up. So
right.
When you do hypnobirthing, you relax so much more, and you're completely in control. It's basically the opposite of everything the medical system tells you about birth. Is hypnobirthing.
Right. I know here we have Lamaze, which is basically breathing techniques. But I never thought about trying to control my mind with that. I only was trying to control my breath.
Yeah.
And I did not have a good experience.
No.
Nope. I was highly reliant on the doctors for their medication.
Yeah.
But I have healthy kids, and I'm very happy about that.
Good. Yeah. So yes, so I did hypnobirthing to try and get me through to the end of this pregnancy without completely losing my mind.
Wow.
And it did, and it really, really worked, even though her birth wasn't as smooth as it could have been.
Yeah.
I got really far without any intervention.
That's great. And then you had her, and were you better then? Healthy? Everything's good?
As soon as she came out, and as soon as the placenta came out, I was never sick again.
That's great.
And she'd had a pretty traumatic birth, so she was a little messed up for a few days, but she was all right until 2 weeks old. Then, during her birth, they used forceps, and it caused this big hole in her head. And nobody would pay attention to it because nobody wanted to admit that they'd screwed up. So I had tried to speak to my medical team about it and to check on it, and they all kind of just poo-pooed it and went, just kind of brushed over it. And it got infected, and it got really infected.
Oh.
And she had this like little hole in her head. And it was awful. And at the same time, we thought it was a rash. It looked like a rash started coming up over her neck and under her chin.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of right around where the forceps were. And we had to take her into hospital to get her infection seen to. We thought the thing on her neck was something to do with the infection.
Right.
And then we were told that no, this was a hemangioma, and their belief was that it wasn't just an external one, like a birthmark.
Right.
It was also an internal one because she was making these like funny noises as well. She was like wheezing when she was breathing. So sorry, she's making a bit of noise. Marnie, can you please not do that, darling? Thank you. Where was I?
So you took her in, and they thought it might have been an internal hemangioma.
And it was. And it was a big one. It wasn't just. It was the biggest one they'd ever seen in a baby. So, we had to get transferred to another hospital. This was 2 weeks after her birth.
Oh my gosh.
We had to get transferred to another hospital, and this was not like the hospital I'd just been in.
Yeah.
This was like wards crammed full of people, and
oh my gosh,
and it was terrifying.
Yeah. Well, and any time to have something wrong with your child, especially a brand new baby, I mean, that's got to wear on you mentally as well. And you're already dealing with these mental, health problems.
Yeah, exactly.
From the pregnancy, like it's just one after another.
It was relentless. Yeah, it was a real lesson in endurance. And so we had to get some procedures to check that was okay and get the infection under control. And then at 10 months old, she was rushed into hospital again with a suspected hydrocephalus in her brain. And they discovered that...
and which hydrocephalus is like fluid on the brain, right?
Yeah, so what had happened was because she was so squished during her birth, she basically had two doctors going ham trying to get her head out.
Oh my gosh.
One after, like, going tag team on each other.
Yeah.
To get her out. Her brain had been so squished that actually the bottom of it was out underneath her skull. and
Oh,
stopping the flow of spinal fluid.
okay.
So it was actually her brain that was
Oh,
stopping the flow because it had been so moved out of shape because it was quite rough.
wow.
So she had to have emergency surgery to relieve the pressure on her brain. And there is really nothing that can prepare you for hearing the words, your child needs immediate brain surgery.
No, I can't even imagine.
So it was like another like bang, like another one.
Yeah.
At that point, it was just like, what else?
Right.
Just give it now. Just get it over with now. And
Right.
it was really, really hard to function. But when you go through that much trauma and over, a extended period of time, you kind of get to the point where you cannot think about the future, you cannot think about the past, you have to enjoy this moment right now. So any moment that I was with Marnie, we were together as a family, all of those tiny little moments that we got to share together, and all like the giggles and the smiles and the, like those little things, like I just had to live off them.
Yes.
And like, you're just living off that love, and that is the only thing that can keep you going.
Yeah.
And yeah, we did get through it, and she is doing amazing. She still needs checkups and this, that, and the other, but she is doing absolutely amazing. And but after all that, it was like all that happened, and then it was like nothing was happening for a while, like because we went from going into hospital pretty much every month for some kind of procedure or checkup or
right
to it just kind of stopped. And we got some time with her for the first time when she was about a year and a half.
Oh my
the
gosh.
first time we'd actually got to just enjoy having a baby.
Oh.
And I just sat on my sofa.
Yeah.
I sat there and I wasn't miserable because she was there and she was okay and I could enjoy her.
Yeah.
But I just froze. I definitely didn't want to go to any mummy groups. I didn't know like how
to relate to other women that have gone through a very much, different experience than you've had.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, it was like I just wanted to be with her, and I wanted there to be calm and peace.
Yeah.
And I was frozen. I just couldn't operate in day-to-day normal life.
Right.
I just had to kind of take in and really sort of process what had just happened. But at no point did I think I'm not going to be okay. It was like, I have to be okay. She's here now, and I went through shit to get her here. So
it really puts everything into perspective when you go through something like that, and what what really you value in this life, and what you can no longer tolerate giving your attention to.
Absolutely. I did. Absolutely did that. And so after about a year of sitting on the sofa, there was something in me that was kind of going, there's something else going on. And I remember I had a dream that I was taken to another planet. But it didn't look like a sci-fi movie or no that. It just looked like a really normal kind of place. It seemed like a kind of like fairly cool like cafe that we were taken to, but it had these big machines, and it was like this base. These big machines where we'd hang out, and then we'd go and we'd be plugged into the machines.
Oh.
And we got to like hang out for a bit again, and we would just be like plugged in and like chatting to each other, and it was like I woke up from that dream and I had a really good feeling about what that was. And it was the first time in a long time I'd woken up from a dream and been like, oh, that was really good.
I want to go back there. Yeah.
What was that? And I kind of like got the message from the dream that I was being plugged in because my energy was needed to help lift and shift the vibration of the planet.
Oh, wow.
And two or 3 days after that, my friend invited me to join a group on Facebook called The Event Is Happening. Which is, I don't know if anybody's listening is in that group, but it's quite an interesting group, and there's a lot of really like fascinating high vibe information. And like when you first join, some of it's quite whoa kind of
like woo woo.
But I was enjoying it, and I was enjoying the story that was unfolding, and the positivity, and the energy that was being exchanged between people. And I really liked that kind of, it was a no nonsense, no kind of like, we don't disrespect each other, we don't,
you're just here to support
love and kindness, and I really liked that. And I liked that people were asking questions, and so many people were reaching out and helping each other, and offering help. And at the same time, I was also realizing that being a mum now, I didn't want to pass any of my stuff on to my daughter. So
oh wow, that's huge.
I needed to heal some stuff, and I noticed that I had this temper in me, and occasionally, like, it was only ever sort of middle of the night when she just wasn't going to sleep, I would just get so like frustrated and annoyed, and I hated that. I didn't want to get that. I needed that anger to go. But new mum, absolutely knackered. I've been through so much. I don't blame myself for getting it. At the same time, it was like, no, this is something that is in me that's from another time. This is something I need to heal and sort out.
That's a really valuable insight too, because a lot of times, people in general just go on autopilot and don't realize that they have these things that are operating at times. So that's a really huge thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I realized as well that I was getting triggered by my daughter's dad. He would react in certain ways where, something would happen, or she'd do something or knock something over, and he would really overreact and really kind of like almost like be really jumpy with it. And that begun to really trigger me, and it started bringing on flashbacks of my childhood and my own father's reaction to things. And, I was getting these flashbacks, and it wasn't just like, oh, that's a memory. It was I'm right back there feeling that exact thing again.
Right.
So I kind of went, I need to look into this. I need to actually sort this out and look into this. So I asked on the group, what do you do to heal childhood trauma? Where do you start? What do you do to heal this stuff? And I got so many offers of healings and people reaching out and saying the most beautiful things.
Oh,
and
that's wonderful.
It was just like so uplifting.
Yeah.
And I got this one message from a lady called Mia, and she offered me a BQH session. She was kind of new to it, and she was just doing her practice sessions. So she just offered me a session for free, and I didn't even know what it was. I just said yes. Whatever it is.
Whatever I need. Yeah, exactly.
And then she sent me a video. She sent me a video of Alison Cole describing QHHT, and she sent me a video of Dolores Cannon describing QHHT.
Wow.
And I watched those two videos, and that was it. I just knew. I was just like, I have to do this.
So BQH is Beyond Quantum Healing.
Yes.
And it's basically some people say hypnosis. We were talking earlier that we don't really necessarily believe that it is a hypnotic state. It's more of a trance-like.
Yeah, it's
meditative.
Hypnosis is generally has more connotations towards going to a subconscious state where you can be reprogrammed in a way. So if you wanted to stop smoking, or if you wanted, you had a habit you wanted to break, then you can go into a subconscious state, and the hypnotist can, or the hypnotherapist can, change a habit through
programming, basically reprogramming. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this isn't like that at all.
Right.
This is very different.
Yeah. And so you're basically read, from what I understand, and I'm a practitioner also, and you are now too, but so we read a script, and the client is kind of taken on a imaginative, it seems like a imaginative play, almost daydream almost.
Yeah, just taken to the most kind of relaxed and comfortable and safe place to be able to allow themselves to release and just let go and relax enough for all of those parts of our brain that are working all day long, our critical mind and our logical mind and our analytical mind are all shouting at us all day long.
Yeah, and it just quiets all of that. And you set an intention for the session, right? And then you are taken to what I always say the most relevant and necessary place for you for that intention. Your higher self will take you on a journey, is basically how I describe it.
Yeah. And the story begins to unfold. And once you're in that place, we ask what you're seeing, sensing, and experiencing, and then this story kind of unfolds. And some people would think it was a past life, but you don't have to believe in past lives to have an experience is going to be helping you. You can just see it as your mind presenting you with information in a creative way so that you can understand it in a deeper sense, and you can understand parts of yourself in a deeper way. So, I mean, your belief system doesn't need to be of, it's a past life, and it's,
No, and I think that each person too, it gets what is in line with their belief system. It seems like the clients that I've had, sometimes people are really religious, and so then they see, religious figures or different symbolization, I guess, for that. And then there are other people who, believe in extraterrestrials and encounters like that. So then they get a very different experience. And it's fascinating where each person will go. But so you went on that journey then.
I did. Yeah, I had a session, and it was absolutely amazing, and I will never forget that feeling I had when I was in a constant state of goosebumps for about 3 days afterwards. I could not
magical.
That, like, oh my God, feeling just like so many amazingly beautiful things I couldn't even describe them all. It's like colors that don't even exist, and places that we have no idea about, and it was just so confirming and fascinating and reaffirming, and really made me understand how connected I already was to my higher self, and how intuitive I already was about the things that I was asking about. And I came round from that session, and that was the first thing I said was, I really think I want to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
And she was like, you should. If you feel like that, then you should.
Yeah.
So I saved up, and I think it was a month or two later, I bought the course.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you've done the course as well. It's so much fun.
It's so much fun, and it's just so fascinating. It's so fascinating to me.
Yeah. And watching Candace as well, she's like, she just has such a love for this work and a fascination for what she does, and just this amazing connection to all of it. She's so passionate about it.
She is, and it's it's so wonderful. I think too that she, watching the videos in the course and things like that, she's so unique, and she's so honest about, like, even I know she was talking about like her induction voice, like the voice that she uses to do the script and stuff. She's like, I had to practice it because that's not a strong suit, and I just love how honest and unique she is, and I think that it really goes to show, like, she has certain techniques that, or people, I guess, clients that have commonalities a lot of times, because they gravitate towards her.
Yeah.
That.
And she has this thing that it's like when you see someone and you're like, what I see in you exists in me. And it's like, she has this like childlike wonder about this work and what it does and where it can go, and it is just like you almost can't breathe sometimes because it's so exciting.
It is.
Yeah, I remember getting to like the last 4 modules of the course and being like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to end.
Right? I don't want to just keep doing this. Yeah, exactly. I know. No, definitely.
But at the time, I was so new to it, and I'd only literally just gotten near the end of the course that I didn't realize that really that was just the start of a whole new stretch of learning.
No, it is, and it's so beneficial. This modality is so beneficial in so many ways. I mean, you and I have talked about it in the past, but I don't think that there's anything it can't help you with. I mean, and it's one thing for you to go to like somebody that is an intuitive guide, and ask for advice to get information from their own intuition. Yeah. But it's a completely different experience when you are getting information from your own higher self. The source that knows everything about you. Like, it's an expert on you, basically.
When you're hearing the answers coming from your own voice.
Oh, and that was so freaky. I tell you, the first time I did it, and it was like it was freaky in a good way, though. But I mean, when I had my first session, I was like, oh my gosh! I looked at the video afterwards, and while I was in it, I just felt like it was a dream. Yes. It didn't feel real. It felt like a dream. And I watched the video afterwards, and it was interesting to see myself shift from speaking in the first person to the third person.
Yeah, isn't it?
So fascinating. And like my tone of voice changed. It was very fascinating. But then all the questions that I had written down, I know, and I'm sure you too, I mean, the information that came was nothing that I could have scripted.
Nothing that you could have articulated in a normal waking everyday state.
Right.
It's you, because it's coming from the depths of you.
Yes.
But it's this higher aspect of you, this higher, more broader aspect of you.
Yeah. Where there's just there's no garbage in there. It's like us without garbage.
Yeah.
It's completely sanitized.
Before the programming, before the
completely purified. Yeah. We only know love and light. Yeah. And we get the best information. I mean, the best information. And we find, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about the things that you remember from your session like maybe.
I can do. And the thing as well that I really liked about doing this was that Mia was in Portugal and I'm in Scotland. And we were able to do it. And this is like the first time I'd ever heard of being able to do this kind of really deep healing work from different sides of the world.
Yeah, you can be in the comfort of your home, and she can be in another continent.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just fascinating to me. I was like, that's so cool. I had no idea that you could do this. I always thought you'd have to go to an office and you'd have to go and lie down and like,
right.
Because that's the way it was in QHHT, and they're very strict about you cannot do that online. And finding out that you could do BQH online and it had actually been developed so you can do it online was just
which I absolutely love, because then it offers you endless opportunities to connect with the person that is most that is best for you at that moment of your life. I mean, that is priceless in and of itself, I think.
And that this work can reach anyone, anywhere.
Anywhere, yeah.
You can be in your hospital bed and you can have a session.
Yeah. And the physical healings that take place also. I mean, that's something, we'll probably have to do a whole nother session podcast on that, but briefly, you do, what happens is in what my experience is so far, and it doesn't always go this way, but kind of the outline is that you will see, either some lifetimes or experiences on another planet or a parallel life, or maybe even the current life. You'll go through a few of those scenes, as I call them. Then you can go through, and if you have physical problems that are weighing you down and you're not sure where that came from, then we call in your healing team and kind of explore that as well. And the healing team is really cool because...
Yeah, that is cool. And that was one of the most profound things about that first session for me, was the physical healing. The session itself affirmed that I was very much still in touch with my very much in touch with my higher self. And it was very confirming for me. But the physical healing aspect of the session was just so amazing and so powerful. Like, I was literally like moving that stuff out of my body, and it was stuff that had been in there not just from my childhood but from lifetimes ago.
Right.
And it was just like there were so many areas of my body, and we conduct a body scan, and when it's like somebody's conducting a body scan. But I remember when we first went into the healing, she told me to call in my team, and I just felt like hundreds of beings and bodies around me and with me, and then I could see this pyramid being put over my head. I had no idea about pyramid healing before then, but it's a thing.
I didn't know that was a thing.
And then they were doing this scan, and it's just like you all of a sudden become aware of a certain area and a sensation or a pain, and then you suddenly know why that's there and what that's there from, and what it's doing there, and then it's released somehow. I mean, I think there's things that are going on in these healings that I don't think we can even begin to pretend that we know about.
I think all of our minds would explode if we actually understood what was happening in these healings. But it is, and even the practitioner can feel when things are happening energetically, which is really fascinating also, because it's an online connection, but I can feel when my client is I can feel the sensations going through my body, or the energy just gets vibrant. It's a really remarkable technique. But ailments, physical ailments, pain in any part of your body, even other ailments, like I have asthma. And, or, people have had, fibromyalgia or lots of different ailments that they've had addressed in BQH with remarkable outcome.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. And we'll do a whole nother session on that too, another top podcast on that too. But yeah, it's fascinating.
It's amazing. And it's the thing that really jumped out for me was it was the first time I realized how powerful we actually are.
We are.
Like, we are so powerful. If we can do this with our minds and with the frequency of our brainwaves, like, it was such an tremendously profound realization to know that not only do we make ourselves sick, but we can also make ourselves unsick.
And I think that's it right there. That's totally it right there. We give so much of our power away to these drugs and these doctors and things like that. And I'm not saying that, if you have a condition, stop taking your medication. I'm not saying that at all. I absolutely would never say that. But I do think that it would be very valuable to have a session and see if that ailment can be addressed, because it's fascinating.
Yeah, because sometimes these ailments come from situations and things that we would otherwise have absolutely no idea how or why these things are there. And in our waking everyday state, we just can't access the answer to that. So that's why having one of these sessions can be so illuminating and so profound.
Yes. It's beautiful. And then after the healing is typically when the higher self comes in, and then we ask a list of questions that the client has prepared to the higher self to get the answers to those questions. And boy, it's invaluable. The whole thing is really priceless. But that information that comes from the higher self to answer those questions that you're struggling with, it's just powerful.
There's so many different beings that come through in these sessions with the higher self to assist these sessions. You can be speaking to beings that we can't even use our imagination to figure them out. They come through and they communicate with us about the client and about their situations.
Right,
and they work alongside the higher self to bring this information to you. And
it's so fascinating. Yeah, I've had archangels and different, the list, there's so many different scenarios that have gone on. It's fascinating.
And every session is completely different.
Every one of them is completely
different. No idea.
Yeah, exactly.
No idea what is going to happen.
No, you don't. And it's so fun. That's what's so fun about it for being a practitioner.
It is. It's an adventure every time. And we both go on this adventure as well, because it's, as we're saying that induction script, not only is the client breaking into that sort of quantum field, but we are as well. And it ends up being, as practitioners, our higher selves are facilitating the session.
Yes. We were talking about that recently, about how after the session I just felt so drained, but it was because I was using so much energy. I wasn't even, I felt like I was on autopilot. Stephanie wasn't here. But the purified Stephanie was here, and I just felt like after the session I was like, whoa.
You can feel like lots of different things after sessions. Like there's been a couple of sessions I've had with a client, and one client in particular I've had a couple of sessions with, and her first session, it was just like, even for me, like, I've got a fairly open mind, but even for me, like, where we immediately went to, it was like so out of what I can even really fathom.
I remember you told me something about, I think it was that session, and I was like, did you know anything about that beforehand? And you were like, I've never heard of any of this.
Well, you learn along the way.
Oh, you do.
Every time you get one, And every time you get one of these sessions with a client and it's something you don't have any knowledge of at all, you go and you research that stuff, and it's really
fascinating. Yeah, because you're expanding always. But I do think that initially, I know that the universe puts people with us that we can relate to or help on a certain level. I think that, but as we grow and expand, obviously we are attracting, or our energy is attracting more and more clients. But I think in this, especially with BQH, we talk about it all the time where there's no competition here. We're not trying to get anybody's business or take anybody's business. We know that everybody is divinely placed with us. Yeah. So I think that's so fast. I love that too. I think there's so much that is unique about every single soul on this earth is so unique. There's I will have clients come to me that the universe knows that I will be able to reach in some way, and you the same, and and that goes for every BQH practitioner. But it's a wonderful. So if you get a hit, if somebody's out there listening and you get a hit that you're thinking you want to do this, and then all of a sudden you get an impulse to reach out to some person or another in any way, you see a name or you see a video or you hear a podcast or whatever, do it.
Yeah, when you hear that nudge, that connection, that call to work with somebody, definitely do it, because
there's information there.
Your higher self trying to tell you that it's a good idea.
Yes, do it.
Our higher selves can be kind of noisy.
They can, I know. Yes. Yeah. Get after it. What have I been dragging you?
But I have had that. And I a lot of this work I have found, and this is my first year of doing this work. Over the last year, what I've found is that trust and belief in the process and how this all works is the key to it. And the belief and the trust that the clients who are supposed to work with you are going to come with you, and the practitioners that you are supposed to work with are going to come into your awareness.
Yeah.
And that is key to a lot of this work, is that there are teams and there's orchestration going on beyond our
my gosh, honestly, when you think about the grand scheme of things, I mean, if you could see it from that perspective, everything else that we're doing on this earth is just so minute compared to the grand scheme of things. There's definitely bigger things at play here.
Absolutely. I had a client, I'll just tell you this story quickly. I know we've been talking for a wee while now. I had a client who reached out to me, who said that she was doing a meditation, and she was coming out of the meditation and she was suddenly flooded with all these images and ideas and emotions about her birth. And she said in that exact moment, she got an alert on her phone, and she doesn't normally get YouTube video alerts on her phone, her emails or anything. And this email popped up, and it's one of my videos about gentle birth and about the way that we are being born is disconnecting us from our hearts, and we're disconnecting us with our connection to the divine. And she got that video in that moment, and she's like, I hadn't even subscribed to you. No, I don't know you.
That is so wonderful.
She's like, but in that moment, I knew I had to reach out to you and do a session with you.
Oh
So
my gosh, that's
it's
beautiful.
one of so many examples
No,
of,
it is. If you're paying, yeah, just start paying attention. I mean, the things that happen in this life are not coincidence. It's not a coincidence. And that's kind of how I stumbled across BQH as well, but I'll save that for another time. But yeah, if you see something on the internet or you hear something I mean, just be in the present, be in the now, and pay attention to things that are going on around you, because your higher self is always trying to get your attention and communicate with you so that you can then live the life that you've intended. And no more suffering, no more, just only happy joy and fullness from your soul.
yeah.
That's really beautiful. Well, Nina, thank you so much. Now tell people where they can find you if they want to book a session with you, or follow you on social media. Where can they find you?
They can find me, well, my website is www.rafaelasoulsessions.com.
Okay.
Or, I'm also on Facebook by the same name. My YouTube is my name, Nina Morrocco, and I post videos up there quite often.
That's awesome. And I'll have links to all of that in the podcast in the description below. So thank you so much, Nina. That was awesome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me today. To submit a question or topic you'd like addressed, or to book a BQH session to get information from your higher self, please visit my website at stephaniezumwalt.com. You can also find me on Instagram or YouTube. Much love.